My name is Kaitlyn Swayze. I'm currently a senior. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering, and I actually grew up in Coram, which is relatively close to the university, and I commute. Coming into college, I didn't really have a specific major in mind, but I always knew that I wanted to end up in science. Throughout high school, I had always loved bio, I loved chem, I loved calculus, all of those things. So choosing to major in biochem my first year just felt like it would be a good move. And within that first year, I was also in WISE mentoring, and that was really helpful because it pushed me to kind of get involved in research. And my first research position was in the neurobiology department, and I was essentially looking at traumatic brain injury using fruit flies as a model organism. And I would do all of these genetic crosses, and I would carry out these experiments, collect lifespan data, and look at whether like knocking down or increasing expression of a certain protein would hinder or help the lifespan of these flies. And I really did love the research process, but in that time I was really starting to think about what I wanted to do with that degree. I realized that the curriculum that I was in was missing a lot of the math that I had kind of longed for and like wanted to pursue. So what I realized was that biomedical engineering was a major at Stony Brook, and I took one look at the curriculum and kind of just knew that they were all things like I couldn't find a single class that I wasn't interested in. And what I found out was that there was this whole field of computational research. So I essentially was now a biomedical engineering major and doing research in the applied math department. And what I was doing was molecular dynamic simulations of the COVID spike protein. And I kind of took on this whole independent project for the first time. It was my first time ever in computation. And there were a lot of, I guess, errors to overcome at the start. And I had support from my research mentors. And this was all happening, like, very quickly and all virtually. But what I realized was I really found it rewarding to be able to look at these problems and analyze them and talk to people and get guidance and then fix them. And over time, I think I just got more comfortable with the research setting. I loved presenting my work. I loved talking about my work. I even loved like the problems and errors that came with running these experiments. And all at the same time, I was getting experience in a field that I didn't really know had existed. And all of those experiences that I had gotten, I really became motivated to pursue a PhD. Basically, what I discovered was that there is ongoing research in optical imaging and advancing those optical imaging methods in order to get better looks at the brain, whether that be the human brain, brain circuits within animal models, things of that nature. And I became very fascinated by it very quickly. So I kind of followed through with that, and that's kind of what I'll be going into generally in the next few years. So when I was looking into switching my major, my mentors and advisors kind of played pivotal roles in that decision. So one of those was definitely the WISE advisors. Essentially, they kind of helped me like iron out what was feasible and like how this would kind of carry over into like my 4-year plan. Once I got into BME though, so everyone had kind of been here for a year, so they had kind of already, met faculty, like they were familiar with the department, but I was just coming in. WISE actually put me in contact with a graduate WISE mentor in the GWISE program, and with my graduate student mentor, I kind of gained a lot of guidance and confidence just in like classwork, like seeking out like extra help in my classes if I were struggling, making connections with professors, and then progressing through my undergrad career. My graduate mentor was highly just influential and helpful, like in my decision to even pursue a PhD. With all this inspiration from kind of my advisors, mentors, even professors, I kind of became very motivated to just get involved and kind of step foot into those leadership roles. I became a WISE mentor, and that obviously was heavily inspired by the influences that other people have had on my life. Finding where you want to go can be a little bit overwhelming, and being able to play that, like fulfill that role, is really great. So I guess like my first advice is if you get a feeling that you want to switch your major, trust that feeling. If you ever like start to get that feeling and like you really do want to switch your major and you know what you want to switch to, definitely go to your WISE advisors because they've probably met with a lot of students who have gone through this before, me being one of them, because you could just find a field that you love far more than what you came in as. So it's like, I guess my first advice is to like not be afraid to like admit to yourself that you want to switch. Um, and just like staying true to what your interests are. Second one is to talk to as many people as you can. I know that professors, and it can be really intimidating to just kind of go up to them and randomly ask for help. But sometimes hearing their own stories about how they were also unsure and now all of a sudden they're a professor doing research in something that they really love, but hearing their whole career trajectory and kind of noticing that it's not a straight line at all. Like many professors have had multiple, like even career switches, things like that. So definitely like talking to people and hearing their stories can be really helpful. Thank you for listening to my story, and yeah, I hope it helped.